Turkey's much-awaited fifth-generation fighter jet finally hits the skies, reaching a landmark moment in the country's aviation history. What effect will the aircraft have on the country's push to become more self-reliant when it comes to military hardware? I'll break it all down here on Strait Talk. Hello and welcome to Strait Talk. I'm Ayse Suberker. The sky is the limit for Turkey's defense industry. That's the view of the country's top aerospace company, which saw the successful test flight of the country's first indigenous fighter. Dubbed KAAN, which means King of Kings in the Old Turkic language, the fifth-generation jet has high ambitions. But what set off its need in the first place? Zeynep Gökçe reports.
A historic moment in Turkey's military and aviation history. The KAAN of skies, aka the country's national combat aircraft, made its first flight in Ankara early Wednesday. It stands out with its next-generation weapons systems, as well as its AI and neural network support.
We are working intensively to complete our KAAN's other tests in the shortest time possible.
The project, which was launched in 2016, is part of the country's efforts to upgrade its air force and limit external dependency. In the early 2000s, Turkey joined the US's F-35 program, America's own fifth-generation fighter. But as Turkey encountered new national security threats and was unable to secure Western air defense systems, Ankara purchased Russia's S-400 missiles. The move triggered a harsh reaction from Washington, with Turkey being removed from the F-35 program. An alternative deal that included 40 F-16 fighter jets and dozens of modernization kits is still languishing in Congress. Turkish officials have often cited the unreliability of its Western allies to provide defensive hardware as the drive to produce more of that technology at home. And it's not just limited to aircraft. Throughout the early 2000s, the US and Israeli governments were reluctant and slow to sell their drones to Turkey, which planned to use them in counter-terrorism operations. That inconsistency led to the birth of Turkey's own UAV programs. Today, Baykar has become one of the leading drone-making companies worldwide, with its TB2s having been used in conflicts across 3 continents. The firm also recently began construction of a drone factory near Kiev. Baykar's UAVs were also the main contributor to the Turkish defense industry's record-breaking $5.5 billion worth of exports in 2023. While more and more defensive hardware is being produced indigenously, Turkey still relies heavily on Western companies for large components including engines and advanced sensors. But with KAAN's first successful test flight, Turkey is sending a message that its ambitions to become less dependent on foreign arms suppliers is taking off faster than many had expected. Zeynep Gökçe, Strait Talk.
And now for more on the test flight of the KAAN fighter jet and Turkey's growing defense sector, joining me now from Abu Dhabi is Suha Cubukcuoglu. He's a senior fellow at Trans Research. From Washington, D.C., Federico Borsari. He is a Leonardo Fellow at the Center of European Policy and Analysis. And from Ankara, Merve Seren Yesiltas. She is an associate professor at Ankara Yıldırım Bayezid University. A warm welcome to you all, and thanks for joining me on Strait Talk. So, Merve, let me begin with you. Turkey's new fifth-generation stealth fighter jet, KAAN, has completed its maiden test flight. Talk to us about the importance of this very fighter jet.
Well, the thing is that first of all, I think everyone is thinking that Turkey has developed this, fighter jet just in the last 8 years. But if you go back to the 1970s, at the end of the 1970s and 80s, actually Turkey has experienced. So it's an accumulation of the knowledge and experience since then. So we started our journey with co-production with the F-16s, and then we joined to the A400M project, and then we also collaborated in the helicopter sector with Italians. So after a while, we started to make our own domestic and national, indigenous systems. And so the thing is that when you are looking at MMU, so the KAAN project, actually, first of all, you have to think that first Turkey developed all its, helicopter systems. Plus, meanwhile, Turkey has also developed its Turkish and Hürjet. So the thing is that we started to develop this jet family in an earlier period. And the thing is that why it happened just in 8 years, because we had the capability, we had the knowledge and experience. And I think this being like getting out of the F-35 project, it's just triggered the speedy, development process.
Yes.
So this is where we are. And another thing why it is so important, because whenever we wanted to modernize our F-16s, because F-30 block, it belongs to Turkey. But when you are looking at the F-40, F-50 and F-70, you know that their source codes just belong to United States. So whenever they update the system, they change the hardware and they change the source codes, and it is the intellectual property right doesn't belong to you, and it limits your operational capability and flexibility on the war zones.
So Suha, what do you say? I mean, how big of a step in this is this for the Turkish defense industry moving forward? I mean, how has a successful test in a way solidified Turkey's place among few other countries that also make fifth generation fighter jets?
I think it took Turkey to another level, the defense industry, to be honest, because now we are only one of, a bunch of countries, maybe 3 or 4, who are able to fly this jet. There are those who express their intention to do so, but are opposed or have not actually made a test flight or a maiden flight yet. So Turkey has demonstrated that not only it can catch up with and accelerate the schedule to complete and deliver the first batch, the first model, but also it has the know-how, as Dr. Merve Seren also mentioned, capabilities, experience, and teamwork, and also the necessary partnerships to bring all these pieces. Because remember, what's important here is, in order to say, a nation owns an indigenous aircraft, the 2 most important pillars are, one is the design. So it has to be a homegrown design, which it is, by Turkish aerospace industries. And second is the software code, because that's actually the computer, the flight computer, mission computer, hundreds of subsystems in an advanced platform like this that you need to build from scratch. So if you can bring all these together in a mega project like this, that means Turkey has jumped to another level, really, in the defense industry, which we see manifestations of in other fields, such as the Navy, the land forces, and so on.
Yes, we're going to get on those developments as well. So, Federico, we know that KAAN aims to replace Turkey's aging F-16 fleet by 2030. Is this a far-fetched target, given that the fighter jet will have to undergo many tests and it won't be combat ready for a few years? So what are the challenges here?
Yes, thanks for the question. I think first you need to scale up the production. So in order to have this fighter jet, which is a 5th generation, and as my colleague said, a few countries have the opportunity to deploy this type of platform, Russia, China, and the US mainly. Today. So the challenge is not only to produce the first prototype in complete shape and have everything regarding subsystems, mission computer, all capabilities ready. You need also to scale up production if you want to deploy and integrate this fighter jet into the force structure of the Turkish armed forces. So you need to have the industry in place. You need to have the infrastructure in terms of production facility. You need to have the skilled force necessary to produce the system. And we are talking about targets that have been set to produce at least 2 fighter jets per month, meaning 24 a year. And this is not bad at all. But as I said, you need first the facility and the skilled workforce in place.
Yes.
And then, of course, you also need to test the platform extensively and to basically reach a number of flight hours that allow you to deploy the system significantly and efficiently within your force structure. So this takes time. It doesn't happen overnight. Sure. And you need a lot of training with that. But I think Turkey is in a good position to reach that ambitious level and target.
So, Merve, it seems that like designing engines is not only enough. I mean, there's also need to develop parts of subsystems involving high technology. So the question is where Turkey stand in terms of know-how as well as its workforce.
Yeah, well, definitely. When I remember at the beginning of the TUSAŞ, when you are looking at the Turkish Aerospace Agency, how many people were working there? It was just like around 2,000 people. But now, just even in project, it is like almost more than 4,000 people are working when you are looking at KAAN. Just 2,000 people, they're working like constantly, permanently in the project. But when you are looking at least there are 100 companies involved, Turkish companies. And the thing is that the Turkish Turkish Armed Forces Foundation, they are all involved in this project. And look at the human resources now. It is more than 6,000 people. So look what happened in just 20 years, in 2 decades. So the thing is that, yes, we are fastening the projects, but as I already mentioned, this know-how is not just only, developing the 5th generation, but we have got already entered into this, this is a multi-layered air systems. It's just both for your offense and defense capabilities. So we are providing just with the unmanned, air vehicles. We have got Hürkuş, we have got helicopters, we have got Hürjet. So the thing is that I think all these systems to provide in the inventory, it will be a force projection, and not only for Turkey, but it is also a force generation for NATO. So we have to think it like that. So, and another thing is what I would like to mention about developing this kind of things. When you are developing a defense product, it is not only being completed just in 2 years, 3 years. They are being developed until they are out of the stock. Yes. Because whenever you are putting in the combat proven, you get the feedback and you are always developing. So it is a continuous development process.
So Suha, will Turkey be seeking foreign cooperation for the development of KAAN? And which countries you think stand out when it comes to foreign cooperation?
Yes, definitely. And it has already signed an MOU with a memorandum of understanding with Azerbaijan, let's remember, and possibly with Pakistan also. These are the 2 immediate countries that could potentially cooperate with Turkey in developing this, because the aircraft has a life cycle. So after this maiden flight starts the real journey. It's going to be a 40-50 year life cycle project that will take many attempts, upgrades, batches, releases, and models to develop it, and maybe develop also export versions of it, for which Turkey would appreciate, foreign input, cooperation, assistance, and know-how transfer possibly, because Pakistan, for instance, has already built its own indigenous aircraft. Let's remember, it's not a 5th generation one, but it still has more experience in the field than Turkey, arguably. So that's one. The other is, and we see this already in the field of unmanned aerial vehicles, is to work closer with Gulf Cooperation Council countries like the UAE, Saudi Arabia, and Qatar. Turkey's Bayraktar drones have recently, been showcased here in Abu Dhabi at Abu Dhabi Unmanned, Systems Conference, and there is an agreement to integrate, for instance, UAE's Aegis armed, munitions, endogenously developed munitions such as Desert Sting 12 into Baykar's UAVs. So this kind of partnership may involve into higher end projects like the MMU KAAN, but only time will show. So, and these are different companies, of course. So Baykar is one and TAI is another one. So, but at least there are examples, there are steps. We see some traction and momentum in there with input from foreign partners. And I think more will come in time.
So Federico, another 5th generation aircraft is, we all know of F-35. Are they similar? And how will how will the KAAN compare to its U.S. counterparts when it comes fully operational?
Well, yeah, absolutely. Of course, the first difference that I would mention is that the F-35, it has been in development since many years now. So the implementation and the improvements on that platform are more, let's say, established compared to those and to the capabilities that the KAAN will have. But at the same time, it is true that they are roughly comparable to a certain extent on many aspects. The KAAN is also interesting because it was conceived initially as a air superiority system, right? But now it is evolving into what is, I would say, more a multi-role fighter jet. So this means that the KAAN will be able to tackle and to be used for different mission sets. That said, the KAAN features many of the characteristics of the F-35. We're talking about a maximum speed of almost 2.0 Mach, 1.8 for the precision, and the F-35 is roughly at the same level. We are talking about an active electronic scan array radar, which is state of the art today in the radar portfolio. We have also characteristics that will allow the KAAN to be used alongside wingman drones, and this is even a 6th generation like feature. And the F-35 also has a similar capability. These lying wingmen will be the Bayraktar Zilelma, and the Anga 3, which is a delta wing stealth drone. So these are some of the capabilities. The KAAN will also join the F-35's advanced cockpit, basically, using this helmet mount display system, which is really interesting, and this will in a way, both the F-35 and the KAAN will in a way outpace the J-20, for instance, the Chinese 5th generation model. And then I think this means that the KAAN will also be featuring state-of-the-art sensors that will allow a situational awareness which is way higher and way of higher quality compared to most of its competitor fighter jets around the world, except maybe for the F-35 itself.
So, Merve, speaking of sensors and cameras, just recently Canada lifted its arms export embargo on Turkey. Are we likely to see the immediate positive effects of this decision, or does Turkey even need Canada's hardware?
Well, actually, the thing is that in none of the countries in the world, they can never be fully independent of procuring from one system. Even sometimes you are having this most smallest things and from other countries, and even the United States, even the Russia, or even the China, they're always cooperating with each other. But the most important thing is that if you have got the intellectual property, it means that you have got the ability and capability to produce it domestically if they are going to put you some sanctions and embargoes. So the thing is that it is not buying from Canada or in another country, but the thing is that Turkey is trying to develop its intellectual capability by producing it, but maybe it will buy. So it is like a cost and opportunity, grading and scoring. So the thing is that you don't have to produce it, but you can produce. You have to learn it. So the thing is that what I would like to add to the Federico's, mentioning. So when we are looking at the 5th generation, flights like F-35, F-22, China's, J-20, or Russia's Su-57. So they all have got like the capabilities, but they have got also the incapabilities. Look at the F-35. It has been developing for more than 25 years. And still it is being criticized because they say that the F-16's dogfighting capabilities are higher than the F-35. Why? Because as Federico mentioned, F-35 is being designed as a multi-role capability. So the Navy in the United States, the Air Forces, and the Marines, they all wanted their missions to be completed in just one fifth-generation aircraft. And this is the reason that that design sometimes lacks, sometimes provides
Yes.
opportunity. So this is the reason when we are talking about KAAN, it will be fifth generation according to its tilt capabilities, according to its IR systems, or to RF, this low radar systems, or according to the sensor system or situational awareness. So the thing is that sometimes throughout this development process, sometimes you get this, sensor systems earlier, but sometimes the radar capability will be, going to be developed maybe just in 4 or 5 years later. So it is then kind of a, management, processing, and testing. So it's going to go through so many phases, and we will witness them all.
So let's move from the fighter jets to warships. Suha, as we all know, Turkey has just recently added 3 new warships and an unmanned surface vehicle to its Navy's fleet, with the TCG Derya becoming the second largest after TCG Anadolu. So talk to us about the importance of this expansion at seas.
Sure, and I repeat what I said at the beginning, that again, Turkish defense industry has gone to another level, and in the Navy we see another manifestation of that. TCG Anadolu, Turkey's first landing helicopter dock or amphibious assault ship, which is to be equipped with Baykar's TB3 unmanned aerial vehicles, is really a force multiplier, and especially positioned in flashpoints, regional flashpoints such as Libya, would be a game changer. In addition to Baykar, the Navy received Anka and Aksungur UAVs, and these have an impressive array of sensors, long flight range, you call it anti-submarine warfare capabilities, deeming them advantageous for the Eastern Mediterranean. And it's a significant shift in the naval balance in the region. And it also shows how a middle-sized power like Turkey can now project force abroad and shape the political narrative in a relatively more easy, straightforward, and cost-effective way. Because to position an army brigade on soil is one thing, but to send your amphibious assault ship is a completely different. It's also a show of for your diplomatic presence and your flag. So it really marks the beginning of, or let's say maybe an expansion of, because there were previous steps until we got to this point. It's really a repackaging of long-standing interests. But it showcases that Turkey is really turning into a blue water capable navy, the Turkish Navy. So it has the upper hand now in situational awareness in the, let's say, the geographically crowded space of the Aegean Sea. So the rollout of Istanbul-class first frigate, which is a variant of Ada-class Milgem corvette, plus a new unmanned, surface vehicle. And I think the most important one to me is the testing of Turkey's first heavyweight torpedo, Akya, for our Gür and Preveze class ultra-silent diesel-electric submarines, because these are really the ones that will say the final word in any kind of war setting around our seas, because the future of sea combat warfare is going to be determined underwater, and our submarines are our most strategic assets in this regard.
So, Federico, due to the ongoing wars in Ukraine and Gaza, we openly see that Turkey's naval strategy has started to change and has started to evolve. Where do Turkish naval capabilities stand when it's compared to its neighbors? And has its latest warships, added some sort of deterrence at seas?
Absolutely, I think so. And we have seen the effectiveness of uncrewed surface vessels used by Ukraine against the Russian Black Fleet with great success. And basically, Ukraine, without a proper navy, has been able to carve out a space of security for its shores using uncrewed systems at sea against one of the considered on paper one of the most capable navies in the region. So I don't see any reason why Turkey, with its navy that is growing at fast pace and it's acquiring great capabilities, would not be in the position to challenge some of its neighbors when it comes to power at sea. And I think currently what Turkey is doing at the Navy level in the maritime domain is really worth mentioning, and I think it's giving Turkey the upper end on compared to some of its neighbors, not just within NATO, of course. So we can certainly consider Turkey one of the most capable navies in the Eastern Mediterranean, if not the most capable at present, compared to some of its neighbors, from Bulgaria to Romania to Greece itself to other countries too in the region and the Black Sea, but also when it comes to Russia. I mean, it is sufficient to look at the example emerging from the Black Sea, as I mentioned initially in this comment. Because Turkey will be able to really create a deterrence layer against Russia, especially with these new vessels that are now being introduced, and with the potential to have the drone carrier operational soon, which, as my colleague mentioned, will allow Turkey to project power to a much greater distance compared to the past. So this means that the Turkish Navy will be able to challenge its neighbor for sure.
All right, Merve, Suha, and Federico, unfortunately, we are out of time. Thank you very much for joining me on Strait Talk. And that's all for this edition of Strait Talk with me, Ayse Suberker. If you've got any comments, please share them with us on X at Strait Talk TRT. Also, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Until next time, take care and goodbye.